At this time, I'd like to invite Father Paul English, CSB, and James Christmas to come up for the presentation of the Distinguished Alumnus Award. One of the really wonderful things about the Aquinas Alumni Association, which you graduates officially begin today and join, is the variety of success our alumni have enjoyed and the way that they continue to share their gifts with us long after graduation. Teachers to administrators, lawyers to judges, state senators to members of the presidential cabinet, priests, nuns, celebrities and sports stars. These are only a few of the chosen professions of our alumni. I want to stress today that you are most welcome in this group, over 40,000 strong, who make history every day. As a matter of fact, I'd like to ask each member in the audience who is either a St. Agnes, Nazareth Academy, or Aquinas alum to please stand. Let's give them a hand. Graduates, it's a wonderful community which you now belong to. At graduation each year, we celebrate an alum who illustrates the strength of Aquinas, chosen by a committee of peers to receive our highest honor, the Distinguished Alumnus Award. Jim Christmas, Aquinas class of 1966, you math folks, 51 years out. Look how good you can look after 51 years. It's most fitting to receive this award. When asked about his Aquinas experience, Jim said, "It may be the person I am today. It was the atmosphere of the school." The focus on Christian principles and the grooming of well-rounded young adults made a difference in Jim's life. Jim holds a BS in business from St. John's University. He also received an honorary degree of commercial sciences degree in 2010. And recently received the Peter J. Tobin College of Business Distinguished Alumnus Award. He started his accounting career with Arthur Anderson and Company, rising to senior manager before he left to join a utility, where he held various senior management positions, including vice president and controller and vice president of planning and development. In addition, he also served as senior vice president of several subsidiary companies. In June 1988, he founded and became president and CEO of KCS Energy. Under his stewardship, KCS grew from a small startup to a nearly $2 billion market cap public company, ultimately merging with Petrohawk Energy, where he served as vice chair until its sale to BHP Billiton in 2011 for $15 billion. Today, Jim, father of 3 and grandfather of 5, is enjoying quasi-retirement. He met and married his wife, Eileen, while they were both in college, and together they have raised their family on Long Island while Jim continued to his job in Texas. Their commitment to each other and to their family is deeply rooted in their faith. Jim serves on 3 boards related to his area of expertise. He also serves on the board at St. John's University in Queens and on boards in his community. His Aquinas years helped to prepare him for his roles as husband, father, executive, and community volunteer. He puts it simply, Aquinas gave him a solid foundation to grow. Aquinas is fortunate to count Jim Christmas among its alumni ranks. Please join me in congratulating Jim today as we present the 2017 Distinguished Alumnus Award in recognition of outstanding and widely recognized achievement.
Thank you, Mike. Let me add to my welcome to everyone who's here today and offer my congratulations to the class of 2017. I'm truly honored to receive this award and have an opportunity to speak to you today to tell you a little bit about my journey from Aquinas to where I stand here, and maybe to share some lessons that I've learned that could be helpful to you throughout your life. I grew up with a brother and two sisters in Charlotte, went to Holy Cross school before coming to Aquinas. As a kid, did a lot of odd jobs. I mowed lawns. I was a paper boy. I collected bottles to return for the 2 cents you got back when you returned them to the store. I worked as a counterman in a hot dog stand at the beach. I worked as a busboy at Crescent Beach Hotel, as a mason's helper. And when I was old enough, I worked in the construction company at Eastman Kodak while still continuing to work at Crescent Beach. My father was a machinist at Eastman Kodak, and in addition to working all the overtime that he could, did a number of side jobs to pick up additional money to support the family. I remember my mother is mostly a stay-at-home mother, although she did have a secretarial job part-time, and also did some waitressing from time to time to help fill the gap. I knew that sending me to Aquinas was a sacrifice, as I'm sure it is for many of you today. Our house was very small. In fact, the bedroom my brother and I shared until I went away to college was considerably smaller than my bedroom closet today. And my wife's closet is bigger, or at least it has more stuff in it. Life was definitely much simpler then. We rode bikes to wherever we wanted to go. We spent most of our time outdoors playing baseball or doing whatever we could do with our friends. There definitely were not a lot of electronic gadgets to distract us and really to consume our time. I think we actually spent more time interacting with our friends, which I think is a very healthy thing. Back then in our house, we had a single phone tethered to a wall in one room in the house. I think, as I recall, it was the dining room for us. If you wanted to call somebody, the first thing you had to do was pull a chair from the dining room table to be near the phone, pick it up and make sure that there was nobody else on the line, because there were 8 to 10 families using what was known as a party line at the time. If there wasn't anybody on the phone, you had to push your finger in that rotary dial and swing it around one number at a time until you got through all the numbers to hopefully reach the person you were looking for. Today, as I look around, probably everybody in this auditorium has a cell phone, or I guess they're smartphones today. So we've gone from one phone for a family tethered to a wall to one phone for each person, with a person tethered to that phone. Don't get me wrong, it's a great tool. Just don't be a slave to it. Actually interact with people. I think you'll get a lot more out of it. After Aquinas, I went to Niagara University, where I actually met this beautiful young woman on the first day of school, who ultimately became my wife, Eileen. I didn't make the transition from high school at Aquinas and all the lessons I learned to Niagara very well. I stumbled at first. My grades in that first interim marking period, which didn't count for anything except a slap in the back of the head, they weren't that good. But I readied the ship pretty good with a considerable amount of prodding from Eileen, and actually my grades from that point forward were pretty darn good. We decided after sophomore year to go ahead and get married. We were deeply in love. It was a very different time. Eileen dropped out of school, went to work to support me. I transferred to St. John's University in New York, went to school full-time days, worked nights. Eileen worked until she became pregnant like 6 months later. So Eileen actually had our first child about 3 weeks into my senior year. So my oldest daughter was in my arms at graduation. Not a course I would recommend to anybody, but it was really good for us. We've been married 49 years. She has been a terrific partner, and I could not have accomplished what I had. I could not have accomplished what I've been able to do without Eileen there to take care of the family and to support me at every turn. Mike's already told you a little bit about my career from public accounting, where the amount of experience you get in a relatively short period of time is outstanding. You're exposed to a lot of different companies, different people, different ways of doing things. And one of the things I took away from that is every single person you meet, every situation you're in, you can learn something. It may simply be, I don't ever want to be like that person, or I don't ever want to do that. But it may well be something that will serve you well for the rest of your life. From there, I did go to work for one of my clients. I guess I was a bit of a rebel, which I'm sure some of you have been in school during the past 4 years. I wasn't complacent doing what everybody had done historically there. I was the guy who was always saying, isn't there a better way? Why can't we do something different? As a consequence, I worked harder than most people, excuse me. But I also moved up the ranks pretty quickly, taking on additional responsibility, being opened up to new opportunities. One of those opportunities after about 8 years there was to look at the way the company was run, pull it apart and help the company to refocus on its core business and go back to doing that, which I wasn't at all interested in. I did not want to work for utility. But they had about 10 other mostly failing businesses that they had diversified into over time, and I thought could be run better. And I took the risk that I'm sure was evidence to most of my friends and family that I was totally out of my mind, to leave a secure job with a secure paycheck and start up a new company with mostly failing businesses. But I was fortunate. I was able to select a handful of people who felt like I did, who were driven, who were focused, who were willing to work hard. And together we built that company from, as Mike said, about a $10 million startup to $2 billion along the way to 15. Obviously, a lot of that is lots of shareholders, lots of offerings over time, but a wonderful company that provided an opportunity for a lot of people. I think we started with 22 people, ended up with 350 employees. Many of them were able to send their kids to, because of the way that we ran the company, because of the opportunities we put before them, were able to pay for college, pay for a wedding that they hadn't heard. I mean, I'm thrilled when somebody comes back and tells me a story about a house they bought that they couldn't have otherwise had, or an education that was paid for, or a wedding they couldn't have had. Those are the things that I really enjoy, seeing how much other people have benefited. Enough about me. What about you and your future? Aquinas gave me a solid foundation on which to build, one based on Christian principles, an ethical, moral approach in all that we do. I'm sure it's done the same for you. What you do with that from here is totally up to you. I encourage you to pursue your dreams, but never forget what you've learned here. I'm talking much more about the things that make you the kind of person you are, not whether you remember the mathematical formula, or you can go from, I graduated in '66, and that's 51 years ago, not a Shakespeare play. Pursue your dreams. Don't forget everything that you've learned. As you move on to college and then out in the world and beyond, ask yourself what you like to do. What are you passionate about? Because if you're passionate about what you're doing, you're much more likely to be successful. You're going to be much happier doing it and spending the additional time to be successful at it. In fact, you'll probably actually enjoy it. And how great would that be to be able to make money and enjoy what you're doing, as opposed to, and oftentimes we've got to do things we don't like to do, but I would not want to spend my whole life having to do that. Don't be afraid to take a chance. That may be asking a question in class, raising your hand, and fearing that somebody's going to think you're stupid. Excuse me. It's amazing how much time is wasted by not asking that question when you get out into the business world and somebody asks you to do something and you don't really understand. If you don't ask them to explain, you're going to waste a lot of time for different people. Don't be afraid to pitch an idea. You've got great ideas. I'm sure you're all very smart people. You wouldn't be sitting here today. Don't be afraid to make suggestions, to speak up in class, on a job. Most people, whether you're talking about your teachers, your bosses, your coworkers, they're going to have a lot more respect and admiration for you if you participate and are willing to put forth your ideas and support them. I'll give you one example from my own life, my own career. There was a young lady that, when we started our company, she was an accounts payable clerk with a high school diploma. But she had a sparkle in her eye. She was willing to work hard. She asked questions. She wanted to know why. She wanted to do more, and were there more things that she could do to help with the company. I encouraged her to go back to school. The company helped pay for her education. And at the end, she rose to be my chief financial officer. And today, now that we've sold the company, I've retired, she's moved on as a chief financial officer for a new startup company. Very bright young lady who's done really well by not being afraid to take a chance and by really reaching out and pursuing things. I'd also encourage you not to be afraid to fail. If you've never failed, I don't think you've ever really stretched. You've ever really tried to push the limits. So push the limits. You will fail. I promise you there's going to be times that you fail, but you pick yourself up, you learn from those failures, and you're a stronger person for it. Don't limit yourself. Don't just stay within your comfort zone. As they say in the U.S. Army, be all you can be. Follow your dreams, be passionate, be focused, and great things are within your grasp. And after you've achieved those, don't forget, and along the way, for that matter, don't forget to give back in whatever ways you can. We've been blessed with great opportunities, thanks in no small part to the sacrifices our parents have made, but also by others in the time that they've given to us as a mentor, as just an advisor, just somebody to listen to at times. People who have given of their time, their talents, and their resources. Help others when you can. So congratulations to getting to this point, and best of luck in all your future endeavors. Thank you.